Make some noise for
Everybody
Chris
make it up
Biggs.
for Chris! Thank you very much. Thank you, Bailey. Thank you, Andy Richter. I really appreciate you.
Thank you,
You're
man.
awesome.
Thank you, man.
Hello, folks. My name is Chris Biggs. I have been with my wife for over 20 years, and we have 4 kids together. Thank you. Every day I'm counting. And the thing about being married for us, though, the thing that works is knowing what you're good at in a relationship and dividing those responsibilities up between the two of you so that you can divide and conquer. Because when you have 4 kids, it's a lot. So what we do is, so she's responsible for what we do, where we go, who we see, what we don't eat, the kids, doctors. And I'm responsible for the TV remote and the thermostat. These are like the hallmarks of an American dad. But the problem came because my youngest son, or not my youngest son, one of my sons, because I got 4 kids, he has opposition defiance disorder, which basically means if you tell him to like clean up his plate, his skin will start to shake, and if he doesn't throw that plate across the kitchen, like his heart will explode. It is like serious reactions. So the therapist for him said, well, we need to, you need to give him some kind of responsibility, something he's in charge of. So we looked at the list and, her 98 items and then my 2, and it just made sense that he would get the TV remote. So he walks around with this thing like it's his emotional support pig. But I still have my thermostat, and I love my thermostat. I got one of those smart thermostats. It is my job to make sure everybody in that house is as miserable as possible, right? Just so I can keep that electric bill down. In the winter, it's got to be as cold as can be, and in the summer, as hot. But the smart thermostat, it'll send me like little leafs when I'm doing a good job. It's like, hey, you have made significant progress in getting everybody in your house pissed off. Good job. But one day, it said, just to let you know, because of your schedule changes, you're using more energy than normal. And I was like, do not besmirch my good name, Nest. You are spreading lies about me all over the cloud. But I went in there. It turns out my wife downloaded the Nest app to her phone and changed the schedule. And we got into it. This was a betrayal. But most of all, this was my last thing. This was all I had. And she explained to me, she's like, well, you can be in charge of the trash. And I'm like, you're not in charge of trash, that's a chore. And she said, you can choose when you take it out. And I realized I can choose whenever it goes out. Like I can choose that. Yeah. And she says, as long as it's out the night before. Because it's got to be out the night before, because I forget stuff. I know that. So it's got to be out there. And you bring it back in as soon as possible. And I got to get it back in so that we can put our stuff back, all the new trash in there. So now I'm a trash man. I'm excited. Everything was fine though. So obviously we had a fight about it. And the thing about my wife and I when we get into fights, it's not resolved. Like we're both kind of walking around grumpy, and it's not resolved until the loser of the fight kind of just asks the winner a ridiculous question, like just to start that conversation again. So it's like, hey, do you think the sun will come up today? Yeah, there we go. So the fight's resolved. Until 2 weeks later. And I came downstairs in the morning. Of course, I was wearing a tank top and shorts because it was like Burning Man in my house. And this was winter 2022. Very important to know that because it was a really cold winter. And I come down and she's looking at her phone and she goes, what? Because she can be very loud when she's not doing that Jedi mind trick on me. She's like, what? Something must be broken. And of course I'm clueless, so I just go, what's going on? And she goes, our electric bill was twice what it normally is. Now, some of you who have been married a short amount of time might be thinking, this is the greatest thing ever. All of your sacrifice, all of your hard work has been validated. All this understanding of what you've been putting up with. But no, this is the absolute worst situation you can be in. There are certain situations in your marriage that you are teetering on the brink of divorce. And if you don't play it exactly right, you're done. Like this, like Doctor Strange. There's 18 million combinations of what could go wrong and only one that's going to win this fight. And so, I'm taking too long to respond to her. And in my mind, I'm thinking, okay, I'm just going to go, and move on. Like just go, and that's it. It's my only response. But I go, and it just comes out like so high-pitched that I freeze. And I'm not going to move because obviously she's a Tyrannosaurus Rex and her vision only works by movement. I'm sure she can smell me because I'm sweating because it's so hot in this house. And I know that she could tell like that was a really high pitch. And I'm just wondering if she's going to notice it. Because I'm sure in her mind, like I said, but what she heard was, I was right. So I'm just frozen. Like 3 or 4 hours go by. And she just goes, fine, I'll put on a sweater. It's like, yes! Did it! I mean, let me tell you, there are some precarious situations you will find yourself in marriage. Like, if you ever find yourself in like a 2-person kayak with your spouse, just spend the entire time realizing how expensive divorces are, okay? If you ever like are sitting to the immediate left or right of your spouse in a game of Uno, you've done messed up. These are important things, and I survived. The one thing I do want to admit, though, is I could have handled it a little more mature, because what I never told her, and what she'll find out tonight, is, yes, it was a cold winter, and that was going to accelerate the electric bill, no matter what. But it was like also the winter right after Vladimir Putin invaded Ukraine. So like energy prices went through the roof. So there was no way that electric bill was going to be cheap. So I could have explained geopolitical politics to her and all that. But what did I do? I just went, hey, thank you very much.